Cool.
Um,
Welcome to our podcast, Austin.
yeah,
Appreciate it. Thank you for
welcome.
having me.
Yeah, super happy to have you on. I'm glad you were able to make it.
Yeah, thank you again for having me. I'm excited about this. So, anything where we can talk golf for a while and figure out how to help get players better, I'm all in. So this will be fun.
Hell yeah. I know you and Matt go way back, but I don't know as much about you, and I'm sure our listeners don't either. So, if you want to give us a quick background, a little introduction, would love to hear it.
Yeah, quick background. Let's see. Grew up in East Texas, a city called Tyler. Played high school and junior golf in Texas. Ended up playing golf at Western Kentucky. Graduated in 2016. College career was pretty. I don't know, wasn't the best. I wasn't the greatest player. I was a walk on my first year and just kind of grinding my way to be like in the postseason lineup. My last 2 years was very much a developmental player, but got a lot better and kind of in that realized that I loved college golf. I loved being in golf. I wanted to kind of help people get better. So I thought college coaching was something I would enjoy doing. And kind of got my foot in the door at a place down there at University of South Alabama where I actually met Matt. I was the graduate assistant for the men's team for 2 years there while he was the head coach for the women's team. Had my 2 years there, then went to UNC Charlotte in North Carolina, was the assistant coach there for 5 years. And then I'm actually now back at my alma mater as the head coach at Western Kentucky, going into my third season, starting up. Our guys get back here in a couple of days, so it's ramping up. I've hit that point in the summer where I'm ready for the guys to be back, ready to be back on the course with them, ready for that day to day. Been a lot of travel, a lot of recruiting, still a fun summer, but I know that kind of day to day with the guys is definitely one of my favorite parts about it. So excited to jump back into that.
Hey, Austin, tell me about you played at Western Kentucky. You're now coaching at Western Kentucky. You learned how to be a coach in the meantime. How different is that?
Oh man,
or what do you take away from your time as a player that you think helps you as a coach?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things, it sounds weird, but like I said, my college career wasn't great. I wasn't the best player. And so looking back on hey, what could I have done better? What did I not do the right way? And now when I've been coaching I'm about to enter my 10th season. So I've been in it for a while now and been a part of some successful teams. It's kind of hey, and it's okay, I didn't do this very well from a practice and approach standpoint. But then I helped guys when I was and helped them get better at those things. It's using those things every day. For example, practice habits. I was a range rat. I put time in, but I wasn't very smart about it. I hit way too many golf balls. I didn't play enough. I wasn't I was competitive, but I was just trying to hit the perfect 7-iron, and that's just not the way to go about it. So helping guys do that, and a lot of the stuff where I'm saying is hey, I wish I would have done this when I was in your shoes. I feel like I say that a lot. And normally that kind of helps give you a little bit of credibility where you kind of throw yourself under the bus a little bit. It's just I wish I would have done this better. I didn't, but now I've got the opportunity to help the players I have now and the players that I bring in be a lot better than I was. So that's kind of, and then being able to do it in my alma mater, it's pretty wild because it doesn't feel like when I could say hey, I was in your shoes, it's I carried that bag. I was on that range. I was in this weight room, all this. I've lived exactly what y'all are going through now. So I've been there. And being able to have that connection, that it's pretty special.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, there's a couple things I'd love to kind of jump into.
Yeah.
You talked about, you were a range rat, you put the time in, but you just didn't maybe use it the right way. Didn't have the best practice habits. I mean, that's something that I try to be conscious of. And I think a lot of players can quickly fall into that trap of hitting the same club over and over, trying to get a feel right or trying to experiment with something. So, what would your advice be or maybe what advice do you give your players to, make sure their practice is structured and they're getting the most out of the time they're putting in?
Yeah, it's a good question. So when it comes to block type practice itself, I think it is important. I think it is very necessary for every player. But what I've learned is that if you can get a lot more, it's quality over quantity. like you can get a lot done in like 50 like very good, conscious, like very focused reps working in a field, and you can actually get a lot more done than you think. It's like, oh, I got to do this like 150 times. It's like, well, if you do 150 times, you're just kind of half doing it. I think you actually end up getting more out of like doing it a little bit less. So I've got guys where it's like, I mean, you probably hit too many balls where it's like you got the move down, you can trust it, or it's just like I think you can do this a little bit less, and then like go test yourself a little bit more. So, and I think the other thing too is with that, I think everyone's got like 2 or 3 things that they can fall back on, where if they like common tendencies that they have, and if those are like in good shape, or if they fall back to those when things get off, 90% of the time it's probably going to get a little bit better. And it took me a long time to learn those. Like I honestly didn't learn those until I was like coaching. Just when I started learning more about the golf swing, learning more about what was working, what wasn't. Me, it was just kind of like, oh, it looks like I'm a little inside. Let me try and take it outside. It might work for a day, and then it's off something else. But there's no deeper understanding. But now it's like, I know for me, if I've got a strong club face, my right arm stays longer in the backswing, and that my chest stays down and I rotate, I'm normally probably going to hit it okay. I mean, now then there's nuanced times where I have to kind of work in something new, or a little bit of a habit comes up. But I feel like everyone's got those couple things that if they just fall back to those when things get off, or really make sure those are really, really good, I think you're never going to get too far off. Because I've learned about like good players is, it's like it's a spectrum. You're always kind of going back and forth this way. It's like the best ones, it's like they just go like this. The ones who get off, it's like they just go, they overcorrect, and then they completely lose it. They overcorrect again, and they just go back like this. But if you're kind of just constantly working on the same stuff, I tell our guys, if to be consistent, you need to be consistent. So it's just like, hey, working on the same couple things every time, like having your couple fallback drills that you like to do. And like same thing when it comes to like putting. It's like sometimes you'll see guys where it's like they'll have a Pelz tutor one day, then a mirror, and then a string, and this. It's like just focus on one of them, get the same number of reps in, and kind of check the box and check it well. And I think you're never going to get too far off if you do that. And I've seen the guys I've seen get better and better, the ones who just kind of, they find a good solid routine, and it might be an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. They knock that stuff out, and then they go play and compete, and then maybe come back and like work on something that may have been a little off. But when they just keep doing that, it never ends up getting too far off. And just because we're trying to, it's like, yeah, we want to be close to the ceiling, but one of the biggest things with us is like, hey, we want to raise the floor, we want to better the average. I think when you do that, that's kind of what makes that happen.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
I remember watching Vijay Singh in 1998 at the Shell Houston Open, and in 2003 at the Tour Championship in Houston, 5 years apart, doing the exact same thing on the driving range. Mm-hmm. That was a bit of like a light bulb moment for me. And how these guys just own what they do, and they sort of figure out their lane, and here's the 2 or 3 variables that I got to manage to be great. Like, do you think you never went and found those things as a player? Do you think you didn't have the information you needed to go get them? Like, was it where do you think you missed the ball on finding those things during your college career?
I would say both. One, I never found them. I was just like, I was tinkering. It was something new each week. But I also think there just wasn't like a lot of instruction going on where like I learned like how important those things were for me too. It was just like, hey, you're a little bit inside, you're a little bit outside, and you're set up, you're staying a little too far, you're staying a little too close. It was just like very, very basic stuff and I wasn't probably a natural enough athlete to like get away with all of it all the time. So with me, I never quite learned that. So it was just hard to get better, honestly. It's kind of what I found. And it wasn't like anyone's fault or anything. It's just kind of how instruction was back then. And it's changed a lot now. And then when you start learning what all these things do to track my numbers and compressing the ball better, and all of a sudden just there's so much more information, which is good, which can be good and bad, because then it makes you go down some rabbit holes you don't need to. But I think I didn't find those myself, but two, I don't know if I really could have done anything different back in 2012 to 2016 to really find those back then either. So I think it definitely both of those.
So a follow-up question, because I definitely hear you on the tendencies, and I definitely hear you on, I have my own, right? I'm just curious though, like, you're working with college golfers, right? So these guys are, what's your worst college golfer? Like scratch? I mean, when he gets to school, like,
yeah, I mean,
can't be
like every guy on your team that we're bringing in, I mean, there's probably shot in the high to mid 60s in a tournament at least once, if not multiple times.
So these are exceptional players compared to a schlub like me and maybe some of our listeners. So, my question is for them, like, do you think those tendency, like, and maybe this question's for you, Matt, like, obviously we have stuff we're working on now. Like I'm working on standing closer to the ball. It's changing a lot of things there's actually a lot of things that have to change for me to do that successfully. And fingers crossed, I played today. It actually worked out pretty well. But my question is, like, do you think those tendencies do you think even a player like me should always go back to the same, like 3 or 4 things, or like how do you mix in the stuff that you're currently working on? Because I would say, like, where I'm at in my golf swing is I have tendencies. I can do some things well, but I feel like every 3 months, Matt gets me closer to like having an actual good golf swing. And that means there's more new things I have to work on. And yeah. And so to me, there's always like new things I have to mix in because it's new technique that I have to adopt.
When's the last time you helped like a 10 or a 12 or a 15 handicap, Austin? Or ever, maybe?
Not like in
I really never done that, right?
No, I really haven't. Like, I mean, maybe playing my dad's game at home on a Saturday, one of his buddies just might throw him a random tip here or there that might help him, but nothing where I've like sat down and focused on like helping him. I truly haven't.
But on the same vein, and this was going to be one of the questions that I asked you, is like, as a college golf coach, maybe even rank these things in order, right? Are you a swing coach? Are you a practice builder? Are you a culture builder? Are you an on-course coach? Are you like, you wear a lot of different hats and they're all important. Like, how much do you mess with golf swings? How much are you just going, hey, you got to understand which way your golf ball curves, man? Because you hit hooks and trying to hit fades is a bad idea. Don't do it. Let's build you a plan to go play hooks and mitigate your, like, what you do versus, hey, your golf swing doesn't work at this level and we need like major overhauls here.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say more the first one where you're just like most of our guys, they have swing coaches already. And so, but I try to be in the conversation, or at least like be a fly on the wall in the conversation so I can understand what they're doing. Cause a lot of them, some of them are local, but some are like I've got a kid from Georgia who swing coaches in Mississippi. And so like, I want to like have some communication with him to where it's like, hey, what's he working on? So I can keep an eye on it. So we can kind of keep him, so I can like do my part to keep him on the right path. And then as long as it's like continuing to get better, I'm probably not going to do anything crazy stepping in wise. But if it's like clearly not working, then that's where I might step in. Or if someone's just like, hey, coach, like, what else do you think? Then like I'll jump in there. So, but from I don't really do it unsolicitedly unless it's just like way off and like we really got to do something, I would say. But I would say more towards like the culture builder, the building the good relationship, the like on-course strategy, practice builder is definitely probably is very much above the swing coach part.
So you're very little messing with golf swings, or that's even outsourced for you?
Yeah, it's outsourced. So I'll do a little bit, but nothing crazy. It's more like knowing like one of my players, Trevor, like his swing, he gets short and across the line, and it's knowing that with his coach that he works with, like hearing what they worked on and like making sure it is longer and laid off at the top. And then if it starts to go that way, it's like, hey, I know exactly. It's like, hey, Trev, get the club going back the other way. It's a little short or stuff like that. So it's like, I know what they're working on and just, I'm like in what they're specifically working on. And so I'm keeping an eye on that to just so they have feedback on it.
Do you see 1 or 2 or 3 buckets where all your players, like, I know that like we got the shallowing craze going on the internet right now. Our kids all trying to shallow it, and now they're getting stuck in right side bent. And Like, do you see the same patterns amongst all your players? Are they all a little different? Like, because I've sort of found, Jordan's an 8 handicap. I can find you a +2 somewhere that has the same tendencies and the same they're just a little better at it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say
a lot.
I'm trying to think. That's a good question. I would say a lot of it. There are a lot of tendencies, like a lot of similar tendencies. I think a lot of them pull on the handle a lot, get pretty narrow, get into side bend early. I think that's like a pretty common one, for sure. Especially now with like how high speed of guys are, like they're just doing everything they can to generate force on a club and generate power. So, and that's like something that it's a very powerful field to like do that. So that's something that's definitely a common tendency. Like yank the handle down, get really narrow, side bend, early extend.
So you can max the verticals.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So I would definitely say that's a pretty common one that you see most of the time. Like it might look a little different each way, but like it can kind of come back to like, yeah, they're kind of doing that right there.
While we're on the topic of generating a lot of force, I'm curious, like what do you think, or do you know like the highest like swing speed player in your team and like lowest swing speed player in your team is?
The highest,
what's the average?
Let's see. The highest I would say, I've definitely got a guy who can hit 190 ball speed, like 130 club head speed when he wants to. I've got about 3 that can hit that are like mid 120s, mid 180 ball speed. And then I've got probably another 3 who are like low 170s and then maybe one like mid 160s. So I'd say lowest is probably like 163, 164, swinging at 110, 111, and then all the way up to 130 club head speed, 190 ball speed. I mean, guys just they pound it. But I think that's just where instructions come from. Like I think guys just know how to generate power, and they learn that at a younger age. Like when I was playing it, like you were never taught to like just honestly like swinging hard and being athletic actually can solve a lot of stuff or make stuff a little bit better. And yet we were never really doing that. I was like, I swung too hard. It's like smooth it out there. And now you realize like now especially when a kid's young, it's like, man, send it and at least make sure they can stay in balance and like hit it solid. But then from there, then like refine it from there. Cause it's pretty, like, it can be pretty tough to learn it later on. I mean, you definitely can, but it's a lot harder to if you don't have it early.
Yeah. And you mentioned something interesting. You said that, you're mostly trying to get your players to keep their, their band of play, pretty narrow, right? And mostly on the better end, right? So not let it get off the rails too much. So when you see your players get off the rails, is that a swing thing usually? Is it mental? Is it like what causes players usually to kind of trend towards the bad play?
Yeah, I'd say it's a mix of both. There's normally something physical going on where something's off, where that they need to work out, but then how it's handled mentally just like takes it further down the rabbit hole for sure. It's like you start making uncommitted swings. You start trying to maybe it's like, oh dang, I'm a couple over. It's like I need to make some birdie. You start going at pins that you don't need to, with clubs you don't need to. You just very much all the decisions you start making are based on what's already happened, which when I think it's one of those things like you almost have to look at golf where like each shot, like say, like, oh, one shot at a time. It's like, okay, what's that mean? What's that look like? Where it's like, hey, I'm making the same decision 95% of the time with this shot, regardless of what I'm at, regardless of what's happened already. It's like, okay, yeah, it's like I don't be conservative with this 4-iron just because I'm 1 under. It's like I'm conservative with this 4-iron because it's a 220-yard shot. The pin's tucked over a bunker, and like I need to be because that's just going to better my odds. And being able to look at it like a lot more objectively, for sure.
How hard do you find that part on the whole for a college freshman to understand? There's 14 pins I don't get to go at today because we're playing
very hard.
Sea Island where the wind's blowing and it's Georgia's tournament. Like, is that your biggest battle, do you think?
I would like early on, yes, and just kind of. I think it's one of those things where guys will be like, oh, I kind of know exactly what I need to do. I just need to go at pins. But like when you get to college, like the pins are harder. So in junior golf and high school golf, like, you could go to a lot of the pins because like mathematically that was probably the right target. But in college, all of a sudden it's 40 degrees and the pin's tucked over a bunker. It's like, but when you've done nothing but go at pins for the last 5 years of competitive golf, it's hard to like make yourself do that all of a sudden and like have the maturity to do that. So definitely on the front end, but you just try to, I don't know, you just try to repeat it as much as you can. And then sometimes it's like, it depends on the guy. If you start like now with all sorts of technology and stat programs, like you can start laying out dispersions of like, hey, look, everything was over here. So you went at this pin, you had 6 balls that missed the green. But if you would have had your target maybe 20, 15, 20 feet further to the left, all of a sudden you've got 8 birdie putts instead of 3 or 4. And now you just played that par 3 like 1 or 2 over a hard par 3 over the course of 10 holes or like 10 times as opposed to like 5 or 6 simply by just a strategic change. So definitely will. And I think the one thing that helps a lot is when you're able to get across to them like, hey, like, yeah, we want to make more birdies, but it's like, hey, like, let's make less bogeys. Let's not make 6s on par 5s. Let's get the easy ones up and down. Let's make sure we're making a par with a wedge, and then understanding what good golf is and understanding stuff statistically, like where if you're, I think it's 167, 168 yards. If you make a 3 outside of like 170 and out, you gain shots on the PGA Tour. And so to me, when you're able to quantify like what good is, like that's a really good example. And when you're able to do stuff like that, that's where it starts to make a lot more sense. And I think guys buy in a little bit more.
What do you find kids are coming to school with more of that information? Because like definitely when I was in college and even 10 years ago, dispersion was not in our vocabulary.
Yeah.
Like it was, oh, he hit it by the pin over by the water. He's real gutsy, you know?
Yeah.
Like, do you find that since that information's more in the world, kids are finding it, or are they still just trying to smash it and figure it out?
I think they definitely have it and they might know it a little bit more, but I still don't think they're applying it most of the time, I would say. I think definitely more so than they probably were 10 years ago, but I still think most of the time when a guy comes, you have like, there's a gap there that you have to help keep closing for sure.
So I'm curious, like, it sounds like you're, really embracing, all the different analytics and stats. Like, can you tell me a little bit how that works? Like both from your coaching and in your program, like how do you get that information to your players and make sure they understand those things? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. So one thing, well, all of our guys, they'll input all their stats, like all of their rounds into a stat program. And we use one called UpGame that I really like. And what it does and how they have to enter their data is it like all the courses come up on like a Google Earth type thing and they map out their shots. And so, and you can move like where the pin is, like where the tee box is and where the pin is. And then once they enter the round, like through all the technology that's in there, it's able to spit out all the strokes gain data, which is like PGA Tour comparatives. But then from that, I'm able to see like how they hit their shots, like on Shot Tracker, like you would on the PGA Tour app. And so for me, what's really cool about that, it's like watching film. Like for a football coach or a basketball coach, like that's such a big part of what they do. But I'm one guy, I've got an assistant, but I can't see it every shot out there. I mean, I might see one guy's every shot, or I might see like 5 or 6 from each guy throughout the course of a round. So having stuff like that is super helpful. And for us, like, especially when we're at tournaments, we break down golf courses the night before because normally we get the whole locations the night before and have a decent idea of where tee boxes are at. And we'll talk about, you can look at weather forecasts and know the wind's going to come off the left on certain holes, or certain ones are going to be into the wind. So that's where you start getting into like all the strategic stuff. But with that, I'll kind of pull once I get all that data at the end, I'll pull like a couple key little areas. Like I'll look at how they're doing strokes gained off the tee, if they're losing, if they're gaining. And that can differ based on like how far someone hits it. Like if I like one of my shorter guys, if he like gained shots off the tee, like he drove it great. But one of my longer guys who can carry it 320, even if he only gained like half a shot, he probably didn't hit it that great off the tee. So you have to pick out those little pieces of it. But then looking at like strokes gained like inside 150 yards. I like to look at that a lot. Like to look at make percentages from certain distances. Like 3 to 5 feet. PGA Tour averages 90%, and it has that conversion rate like within the app that we use. So I'm able to go look at that after the course of rounds and see if there's some tendencies there. But then also with all that information that's out there is making sure like all the guys like have those couple key ones where it's like, hey, you're probably only supposed to make 8% or 50% of your 8-footers like a tour average player would. Or if you 2-putt from outside 33 feet, you're gaining shots. If you make 3 from outside 167 yards, you're gaining shots. Knowing that and beating that with a dead horse, I think helps a lot. So, and then with all that, you just start compiling stuff over the course of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rounds, and you can start picking up on a lot of tendencies. So there's a whole lot of data in there, but I try to probably pull about 5 or 6 key metrics that I think kind of encompass a lot for sure.
And that feeds into kind of the practice plans that everybody's following.
Yeah, exactly. So if I look through, we go through 2 tournaments and I look at one of my players gauge where he's struggling from inside 5 feet. It's like, hey, make sure he's doing a couple little like extra short putting games for himself. And that can differ from player to player too. Like if they're a super competitive guy or if they're a guy where you can just have them rep it out. And then you also, we can get pretty deep into that stuff too. But then, and then also like looking at the shot tracker stuff, when you start seeing like, hey, they keep missing it short to front pins or they keep missing it long to back pins. So it's like, hey, they're getting a little too aggressive with the number. And so helping them understand that. And then you can build games off of that where it's just like, hey, in situations like with a quad or a TrackMan where it's like, hey, you got 174 yards, and you've got to hit it between 177 and 183. If you miss it short of 174, it's in the water. And then all of a sudden you see if they can do that. You might give them 10 of those and see if they can accomplish 8 or 9 of them. So try to do stuff like that as well.
Very cool. That app sounds awesome. Matt, you should have that for everybody really you teach.
Yeah. We've got some stat track. I'm actually in the market for a stat program.
Okay.
So
me too.
I'll check that one out. The real trick is like how much time does that take them? Mm-hmm. And the hardest part of Jordan's a little different than most people I teach, but for the most part, it's like, hey, are you willing to spend 30 minutes after your round plugging in stats? And the answer is no. No, I'm not. But is that about how you fight? Do you have to? I used to have to bribe players to put stats in, or it just sort of was a thing. Like we had to force it into the culture, and it became part of the deal.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of stat programs, they've gotten pretty good to where you can get the round in under 10 minutes. And just the technology's so good where it makes it really easy and it just spits it all out at the end. Because I remember like using stat programs in when I was in school, or 2016, 2018 when we were there, and like you were it was taking 20 minutes to put in data on certain apps. But now I think the apps have continued to improve and the technology's improved to where you can get the stuff in pretty quick. But I will say this too, because I also, where it's like, hey, what's an even more simple way to look at stats, but it still covers a lot. Tiger 5 is a big thing right now. And so it's like no 3 putts, no penalty shots, no missed easy up and downs, no bogeys from inside 150. I forget what the other one is off the top of my head, but like it covers
par 5s, I think.
Yeah, exactly. No bogeys on par 5s or shots over double. So, or shots over bogey. So having like even that in itself. So if a guy sends me around and he has, say he shoots 73 and he has 5 Tiger 5 points and 3 of them are because he missed greens from inside 150 and there's 2 missed easy up and downs. It's like, okay, I know that guy needs to go work on his wedges and probably needs to go chip a little bit. And that was a pretty simple approach to it. And he was just able to kind of think about it and send that out pretty quick. So I think that's a good thing you can go about, like from a statistics standpoint. If you don't want to get super deep into the apps, I think they're great. But if you want like a way that streamlines it a little more, I think Tiger 5 can cover a lot of it. And I think the buy-in and the credit you have is like, that's literally what Tiger Woods was doing in his prime. That's what he was keeping up. So it's like, okay, that probably works pretty well.
Yeah, if Tiger was doing it, it's probably a good idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably.
Yeah.
How do you structure like the practice and the development of your players and stuff, like daily, weekly, year? Like, do you build it out yearly? Are you playing more and practicing more certain times of the year? Is it more blocked and more random certain times of the year? Is that player to player? How do you handle that?
All of the above. Yeah, I would say definitely player to player. Like, because I know, like me, I was, like I said, I was a range rat. I was able to sit there and hit balls for 2 hours and not really think much about it. Other guys don't have that attention span, and that's okay. Like, I need to have an understanding where it's like, hey, I need to give that guy stuff that's competitive in like 15, 20-minute blocks, but he's going to still get just as much out of that as I would, maybe putting in like a bunch of time on something, but it worked better for the both of us. So I would say like leading, like when tournaments are going on, like in the middle of the fall, like the fall season, like I know this, like we're playing 5 tournaments between September 5th and October 19th. So a lot of that time is going to be like, hey, making sure your fundamentals are in check, your tendencies, you've stayed on top of those. You're kind of just checking your boxes, and then you're getting out to play a bunch, like whether we're qualifying or they're just playing a game amongst themselves, trying to do that more. And then when you're kind of in the winter months or the off season for us, that's where you might start getting into some extra blocks, some extra technical stuff. But I would say like mid-season, like when we're in the season, and this is something I've had to learn better as a coach and adapt to, where it's like, okay, I need to make sure I'm making guys play and having them go play more, because I can fall into like, okay, we need to do some wedge combos, we need to do these putting drills, we need to do these short game things, which are all good and well, but it's also like, hey, he's got to learn how to go make 4 on that par 5 out there and go play it. So definitely differs. Definitely is a little bit player to player, depends on the time of year. But like from an in-season standpoint, like when we're competing a lot, it's like staying on top of those common tendencies and then going and competing, going and playing. And then making practice, if it's not on the course, trying to make it competitive, where it's like, hey, you might have 2 guys head to head, like 2-on-2 short game thing, where it's like, but what you can do with that is, all right, if we're missing if our easy chipping isn't very good, all of a sudden I can say, hey, both groups of 2, y'all all have to get all 6 of these up and down together before you're done. So it gets them competitive. It makes all the stuff matter and have a deeper purpose. But then you're also statistically like getting better at something that you need to get better at.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I'm curious, like one of the things that I, want to put a bigger emphasis on the rest of this year and later is actually like practicing on the course.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any like either games or like ways you'd approach practicing? Because I found like just throwing balls when I hit a bad shot is not like maybe the best way to do that. And, playing on days when I'm not in a game with somebody and I'm just hitting the ball, like I think just playing is not the best approach. So I'd love to hear like if you have anything there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's one game I've kind of modeled it off some other ones and kind of made it my own, where it's like, hey, it covers tee shots, wedges, and short irons and lag putting, where all the par 4s and 5s, you'll hit 2 tee shots off the tee. And so that's like 14 tee shots that you've had to hit. You may have had to hit. Sometimes it's like, hey, you have to hit at least 10 drivers. You have to hit at least 11. See how many fairways you hit, or see how many tee shots you have that are in play. Like have a clear shot at the green, and then like hit 2 wedges or short irons on each hole. Hit 2 shots inside 150 on each hole, and like maybe measure the proximity, and then like have a lag putt or 2 on each hole. And so all of a sudden you've gone through 9 holes. You've hit 14 tee shots that you've scored. You've hit 14 wedges where you've measured the proximity, and you've hit 7 or 14 putts, like lag putts that are also a very low hanging fruit on like how to get better at golf. And you've scored it all, and you just did it in like an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's like, oh dang, I got a lot done there. I think stuff like that can be really good on the course. That's one of my favorites to go to.
So they're not even playing really. They're just hitting 2 tee shots, scooping their balls up, throwing them down at 125 wedging them, writing down how far. Is that what they're doing out there?
Yeah, and then I would have a scoring system with it, and just doing math, like I could figure out like, hey, if you get where it might be like you get 2 points for a drive being in the fairway, then it's a point for if it's out of the fairway, but you still have a clear shot, and then it might be -1 for losing it. And then on wedges, it's like, hey, if you get it inside 3 paces, it's 2 points. If you get it inside 6 paces, it's a point. If you hit the green, it's 0. If you miss the green, it's -1. And then lag putting, it's like, hey, if you 2-putt, it's a point. If you make it, it's 2. If you 3-putt, it's 0. And maybe just like doing some math and figuring out, okay, like what's pretty good here, and then having that benchmark. And then all of a sudden, like once they finish it up at the end, they kind of know how they did.
I know what I'm doing tomorrow.
Do you see any so Jordan and I played 36 a week or two ago. In the morning, we both played awful. And it was like a special trip. We went to like a nice golf course. We were partners in a match. We got hammered, and Jordan's like, hey, I want to go play this afternoon. Like, we were driving home, and he's like, let's stop by this course and let's play. I was like, you want to play 18 more holes right now? He's like, yeah, I think I'm onto something. And we went around the course. Nobody kept score. And I made him put down an alignment stick for every shot that he hit. I go, dude, I watched you point yourself in the right rough all day and then snap hook it in the left trees all day. I want you to see what aiming down the fairway on the golf course looks like. And I think there's some value in, there's two different kinds of golf, right? There's skill acquisition, like I'm out trying to figure stuff out, and there's trying to build a score. And those are two different things, right? Shooting the lowest score possible isn't always the best thing for my development, especially for a 10-8-6 handicap. It sounds like this is the college version of it, right? Do you think there's any value in that, or do your guys, do they ever go play and, hey, I'm not super worried about the score, but I'm working on you hitting fades off the tee instead of hooks off the tee. I just want you to go fade every tee shot and go play golf.
Yeah, I think if a guy is having trouble like taking it to the course, like they're hitting it good on the range and having trouble on the course, but then they also have that feels like, hey, I feel like I'm kind of getting it. I think that's when you send a guy out. It's like, hey, go hit a bunch of shots out there. You're able to visualize like, hey, I need to, like, this good feeling tee shot feels this kind of alignment to this kind of target, and like it has that kind of start line, and getting them to repeat that out on a golf course, I think that's great for sure.
So it kind of changes the environment without ramping up consequences.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's like, go hit, like if you're kind of fighting the driver, but it's getting better on the golf course, or but it's getting better on the range, and then it's like, dang, I want to take it to the course. It's like, man, just go out there on, like, get in a 2-3 hole gap where there isn't anybody and go hit 15 drivers on the golf course and just kind of get used to the feeling a little bit. I think that's great for sure.
So you're doing that like kind of more specifically when people are having a big like delta or difference between like range them and
yeah, like course them. Yeah, or if they start playing golf swing a little too much on the golf course, where it's just like, hey, let's go figure out how to be an athlete out here more. And so like pull out this driver on this really tight hole and absolutely send it, and let's see what happens. And a lot of the times it ends up being better because you free them up more.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, how much do you guys put into strength and conditioning from, like, obviously speed kills. If we can build ball speed, that just helps everything. But injury prevention, and specifically maybe targeted at two guys that are 40-ish, like not getting hurt, staying mobile. How much time and emphasis do you guys put on that, and how do you do it?
Yeah, I think we definitely put a lot of emphasis on it. I try to. I think when I was at Charlotte, we had a really, really good strength and conditioning coach. Name was Jason Lindsay, and he trained some tour players. He trained some MLB guys. He had a baseball background, and he got hurt, and he figured out, it's like, okay, the people I train, like, I want to help them not get hurt. And so, but so many of our like workouts that we did with him were like very, I mean, it was a very in-depth dynamic warm-up activation routine to start the lift. And then and then the lift was like very obviously like very structured, very segmented, like focusing on certain things. And then like everyone had like a mobility soft tissue routine that you did like daily. And so, and then that kind of would become that warm up we would do, and that soft tissue routine you would do would become like what guys would do before every single round that they played and before they went and practiced. And what that did, one, it like built that consistency where it's like, yeah, you have to be consistent to be consistent. But then two, it got your body in the same place every single day. So ball striking got more consistent, but you were loosening up and activating the same stuff and the right stuff constantly to where you never really would have like the little nagging injuries where stuff might happen where a guy like comes in steep and tweaks his wrist, or like I remember we had a guy tear a meniscus because he slipped hitting a driver after a rain delay. But like that's just a freak thing. But guys wouldn't have like the normal, like the little nagging stuff was like, oh, my wrist bothering me, oh, my lower back's bothering me, because they were really focusing on activation, mobility, soft tissue stuff. I think that stuff is fantastic, and I think is like how I've tried to describe it to guys when I try to get them to buy in and do it a little bit more if they haven't done it in the past, where it's like, hey, like this is just as important as like that doing your Pels tutor on the putting green or doing your like block drill of that you're working on your golf swing right now, because it's going to help you do those things that much better. So I think that stuff's huge for sure. Like if you have like a good routine where you're doing like an activation dynamic warm up, and then whether in like foam rolling or lacrosse ball, and it's something consistent where you've gotten with someone who can do a really in-depth screening and figure out like, hey, this doesn't move very well for you, this is really tight, and it's like focusing on those, and you just rep that out every single day. I think that's just huge for people, no doubt. No matter how good at golf, how young, how old, I think that's great.
I can vouch for that. I had a ton of lower back pain, and it took me forever to figure out like my recipe for avoiding it, or at least like making sure it's very minimal. And yeah, it's been a game changer. Cool. I have a question for you. I know the players you're working with are mostly, very, very good golfers. Not mostly, they're all very good golfers. But, for your average amateur, I'm sure you play some home games on the weekend, some of your buddies. Like, what do you think is holding, most players back? Like, so especially, let's say people that play regularly, like members at a club, what is holding them the most back? Is it swing stuff? Is it more like fitness stuff, or is it just they don't know how to play golf? Which of those three buckets do you think is kind of the biggest issue for the average amateur?
Yeah, I would say like the not knowing how to play golf is probably the lowest hanging fruit there. I think obviously you can go work on swing stuff and get like a good idea of what you're trying to work on to be consistent with it. But I think when players are able to drop egos and like not try to be a hero on the golf course, and like if you get in trouble, get out of trouble, move on. Obviously very, very hard to do in the moment, but also very necessary if you want to play better, I think. I think just like trying to not go at so many flags, and it's like you got a 4-iron in your hand, like you're just trying to get it up there by the green and get out of here. Just I think embracing that, I think it would help a lot more people, because all of a sudden you start making less bogeys, you start making less double bogeys, and then like I said, you're trying to raise the floor and like get the average better. Now it's like, oh, I just kind of, if it's someone who's a 15 handicap, but like a lot of their stuff is just from pure decision making, it's like, oh, all of a sudden they just shot 79 or 80 by just not trying to go at that one crazy flag, or not trying to hit the crazy punch shot, by just kind of chipping out, making a bogey and moving on. So instead of like making 7 and then you're mad and then they make 6 on the next hole too, it's like, okay, well, you made your bogey, you got out, and you're kind of checked in still, and then you make a couple pars and you're like, oh, I just shot 2 over and I didn't do anything too crazy.
Yeah. And I guess like your team version of that, like what do you think separates, or what does separate your best players from like middle of the pack, maybe like lower end of the team?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think from like a pure like skill golf standpoint, I think normally a lot of my best guys or best players like are the ones who were really good from inside 150, saying they kept it in play off the tee. So like that being the first overall thing. But then like if they're in play and not like off the map, if they're one of the best players inside 150 yards, they're probably gonna be one of the best guys on the college team most of the time, I would say. And then the ones who are just really good at the little stuff, like they're good lag putters, they're good wedge players, they get the easy stuff up and down. Those are the ones where it's like your cream kind of always rises. They'll just shoot a bunch of like kind of easy 70 to 71, 72, and then they get high, they shoot 66. But if it gets a little off, they only shoot like 73 or 74. So, and I think a lot of it comes back to like I would say like wedge game, short game, as long as they're in play off the tee.
Sure. So they're kind of already in that, like your whole team is already great ball strikers, right? And so it's
a lot of them are, yeah.
Short game inside 150. That's kind of deciding who's, the best, having the best scoring averages and performing the best.
Yeah, no doubt.
Do you play much golf with 10 handicaps anymore? Or do you see them play much? Do you ever play like pro-ams? Do you invited to scramble, stuff like that?
Yeah, from time to time I will. Definitely more so like in the summers and in the winter if I go back home to Texas for a week and play a bunch of golf with my dad. My dad's a good player. He's still a scratch golfer, and he'll just kind of slap cut it around and shoot 71. And you're like, how did he just do that? But like he'll just guys at the club then, and then and just random members who I might meet at the courses that we play at. So I will from time to time.
Is there one or two things you see them do where you're just like going, what an idiot?
Yeah. Like,
or no?
Like they're trying to be a hero, trying to shape shots. Like, oh, I'm going to draw it on this one. I'm going to cut it on this one. It's like, man, like you're not that good. Like none of us are. So just we make this stuff way too hard on ourselves. Like, but but it's more boring. It's not as flashy, but like it might not be as cool of a story, but but you beat the other guy by 5, and that ends up being a lot more fun, I think, by the end of it.
Mine is the 12 handicap hitting the 4 hybrid out of the rough from 190, like with trouble by the green. Like, dude, you're gonna have a hard time hitting that off a tee up there.
Yeah,
you're not doing it out of the rough. Like,
I've never done that.
Yeah. like they're at 190, so they grab their 190 club and they don't even think about the lie, not even a little. And they're like, how am I going to get this out of the rough? And then they top it 20. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's my one that I see that I go, golly.
Yeah, like just trying to
you would talk one of your players out of hitting some of the shots I've seen members at our club, like 10 handicap members at our club going, dude, that's never going to work.
If you would have saw the shot that I tried today, it was slightly downhill out of the rough. I tried to hit it over a tree that had to be 120 feet high. I'm only like probably 30 feet from the tree. And I was like trying to hit it 90 yards. I knew I had no chance. I don't know why I did it, but I did it anyway. I was like, I'm making a double here anyway. Either way, I'm just going to take the USGA double and try to make a good story.
Do you still play and compete, Austin?
I'll still play a decent bit. I've played a bunch this summer just with like friends here in town. I went on a golf trip with my dad up to Sand Valley last week. And then I'll play a lot during the like November, December, January when it's a little more dead. Once season hits, I mean, it's one of those things. My players' golf games are a lot more important than mine. So I might not score and play holes as much as I like in August, September, October, and like March and April. But I normally still have a club in my hand most days. Like I might be chipping or putting around, I just like having a club in my hand. But I still like to play for sure. Competing wise, not really. I would like to play in some more like mid-am type stuff if I could, but a lot of it's during the fall, like in the middle of our season. So it's just tough too. And I think I got to focus on my team. So selfishly, it'd be cool to go play and stuff, but they're definitely a lot more important than my golf game.
I was I was just in Sand Valley. I think if you look, that's my Mammoth thing. What
No.
what courses do you play up there?
We played Sand Valley and Mammoth twice, and then we played Sedge. It's like the par 68 Sedge Valley, which was sweet. That was a really fun track. And then the Sandbox, the par 3 course. I know there was the other one, Lido, which was kind of more private, semi-private ish, but which is apparently is really, really cool. We just didn't really know about it until we got up there. But we played all the other ones there, and the place is so much fun. Like I could play that place all day, every day. I mean, the golf courses are fun. Yeah. Like you can kind of hit it anywhere you want to, and you can make a lot of birdies, but it's still got its challenges. We had a great caddy. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. What was your favorite track of there?
Favorite track? I would say I liked Sand Valley the most. I think just from a pure, the golf course had a lot of character. You can make a lot of birdies. It was like quirky enough where it was really fun, but not so quirky it was crazy. I would say Sand Valley for sure.
Nice. Yeah.
So which ones did you play when you were there?
We played all of them. We played Sand Valley twice, played the Sandbox, played Mammoth twice, Sedge twice, played the Lido. Mm-hmm. Mammoth was fun. Mammoth is really easy, like huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wasn't hard.
Huge fairways, like all the greens kind of run to the pin. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you ate it alive. But
8 rounds in 4 days on that buddies trip, Austin. These guys are junkies, man.
Yeah, I love marathon golf is the best. That's what my dad and I did. We got there and we played. We got there on a Saturday afternoon. We were supposed to play Sand Valley in that first afternoon, but my flight up there got like delayed in the air, and they had to reroute, so I missed my connection. So we got there late, but we were able to play 9 on Sand Valley on a Saturday, and then we played 36 on Sunday, Monday, and then Tuesday we played Sedge in the morning and played the Sandbox right after before heading back to the airport. So I love those trips. That's so much fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. How good is that par 3 too?
Oh, it was a blast. I could have spent all day on that. That was, it was so much fun. And I know like so many of the greens were like modeled after some other historic ones. And so of course I like back over in Scotland, there's one North Berwick that I got to play last summer when I went over there with my dad. There were a couple of greens out on the Sandbox modeled after that, and it was cool to see that similarity. So it was so much fun. No, they had the one that was I think it was like 4 or 5 on it. It was after the road hole one, and it had a lot of similarities with how undulating it was, and I hit it right in the middle of that bunker and had nothing. So it was it was a blast.
Awesome.
We wrap it up with one last big question. If you could give one message to the world of golf, like we've got our golfers that just go play on Saturdays and hang out and hit balls and aren't necessarily actively trying to get better like your players or Jordan is. All of not those guys, the players that are out there chasing it, trying to get better. If you could give them all one piece of advice, what would it be? Or you could put a billboard up for them to see. What would it be?
I think just be very, very consistent with the daily habits. Like stick to the stuff that you know works and do it and beat it to death. I think that's gonna help guys just get better and better a lot more than trying to tinker and change stuff every single week. I think working on the same stuff, sticking to it, and making it really, really, really good. I think that's the biggest thing ever that would help.
Yeah. That's so true though. Like keep your weapon, right? Mm-hmm. Like,
yep.
It's so easy. I don't know if you found this as a coach, but especially with high performance players, you want to find the gaps and fix them. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times you'll do it to the detriment of, a driving machine that struggles putting. You want to fix their putting, but don't forget why they're there.
Mm-hmm. Make sure they stay a good driver. I mean? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like know your strengths.
True, isn't it?
Yeah, like know your strengths and know how to keep them your strengths, and then obviously know your weaknesses and have a plan to get them better. But you definitely want to thrive in the stuff that you're good at, no doubt, and don't want to lose that.
Jordan, you got anything else?
Let me see. No, I think we got it.
Did we hit everything you had written down? You had some good questions, I thought.
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask. So I'll ask you this question. So Austin, again, I want to get better. I believe I can get to scratch. I believe I can get better than scratch. But I'm curious. Like, do you think that any golfer can get to scratch? Like anybody that, let's say, we're going to caveat that, like, in a decent athletic age, right? With enough time, are they capable of getting to scratch?
Yeah, I think so. I think also, like, from an athletic standpoint, like making sure you're playing correct tees and stuff like that. But I don't think everyone can become a professional golfer. But I definitely think guys can get. I think most any person who, like you said, like where this has a little bit of a caveat. Yeah, I think guys can definitely get a whole lot better to where they're like even to just a couple over. I think so. Just with good habits and good instruction and going about things the right way. Obviously, that's the really important stuff, but I think it can be done, no doubt.
Yeah, it always kind of blows me away.
If you have the time to put it in, yes, for sure.
Yeah, the time's the big thing. I think the big couple things from what I can gather is the time. Honestly, it's also like not getting injured, especially as you get older. And then, yeah, good instruction helps. But I'm always kind of blown away, as I get better, when I actually have those good rounds, or even like my average to just pretty decent rounds, like how unimpressive what I did actually is. And it's just, and I play with a lot of good golfers, a lot of scratch and plus players. And yeah, they do some things exceptionally well. But again, like they're just tidy, right? Like the way you described your best players, like they don't make dumb decisions. They don't get mad about, I actually see this a lot with like low single digit handicaps where like their expectations are just so far out of whack and it ruins their entire day. Right.
Yeah.
Like they miss a 10-footer and can't understand how that could possibly happen. Yeah. And it's like, dude, they don't make
players
more than
40%
on tour. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're going to squeeze the club extra tight the next 4 approach shots because they want to hit it closer and just, yeah.
On that note, Austin, for a guy like Jordan's an 8 who maybe 3 years ago was a 15, right? You have a player for 4 years that's already really good.
Yeah.
How much better, like if everything goes right with your freshman class this year, 4 years from now, how straight up scoring average wise, how much better do they get? Does that happen sort of linearly year over year? Is that like there's a light bulb moment at some point during this kid's career where they just get 2 shots better overnight? And how do you think that extrapolates to like an 8 handicap traveling down the road to 0 or a plus handicap?
Yeah, I think it's pretty general, but I think there's a lot of guys that might come in and be a 75 scoring average, and you can get them to 72, 71 for sure. I know, and I think it's kind of, I feel like it's almost like an exponential thing. Like for when the jump's made, it's kind of like it just gets a little better, kind of plateaus, and then it's just like, oh, it seems overnight, but it's not. I know a guy who was our best player this past season. He was probably like 3-4 man in the fall of the season before, but you could tell he was getting a little better, just sticking to the same stuff. He played really well last summer, and then all of a sudden he had like 4 top 10s in the fall. It was just like, whoa, where'd this come from? But his daily stuff was just very similar, like every single day. And so he went from like a 74.5 guy to a 72, and it seemed like overnight, but it wasn't. So I think it'll seem like it's overnight, but it's really not. It's just kind of the daily stuff that gets knocked out. It's like the pounding the stone 100 times until it finally breaks. I think that's very much how golf improvement goes.
Yeah, I believe that as well, especially for a player like me, where it's like you make a big jump and it's, oh wow, now every shot you hit's like, half shot better, quarter shot better.
Yeah,
you're totally avoiding those 4 swings around that lose you a stroke and a half.
Yeah. And it's like, and it gets better and it might regress a little bit, but it never goes back to like where it doesn't really go back to where it was if you keep doing the same stuff.
Yeah, Jordan's been fun to watch, man, because he'll like figure something out about leaning the shaft a little bit, and he'll go. I'll get a text 2 hours later, like, "Dude, rockets! I'm hitting absolute missiles."
Yeah.
He's like, I've never heard the ball sound like this. This is so cool. I just want to play and play and play and play.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I go 5 days, get real busy with work, come back out and like, wait, what was I doing? I don't remember.
Hey, on a little bit of a tangent, do your guys keep notes? Like, do you have anybody that's like a notebook nerd? Do you make them write stuff down? Like, do they have to keep their own organization of what they think they're doing or anything like that?
So a couple of them do. It's honestly, when you talk about it, it's something I've tried to do myself better the last few months, and I've seen a lot of improvement in it because it makes me not get off the rails so much. But making sure and writing it down would probably help. That just like you're able to articulate like what you're working on and why you're working on it. I think that I try to make sure my guys can do that. Writing it down would probably make that even easier. Now that you talk about it.
Oh, saying it like that, how important do you think the why part is?
Very. I think you kind of need to have an understanding of like why it works, so then you can adapt to it, and so when it gets off, you can kind of come back. I mean, I don't think it's great for just a guy to say like, hey, you need to go to a lesson, get these 2 things, and it's like, okay, I just do those, and then, I mean, I know it works for some guys like Caveman Dustin Johnson, but I think even he probably has a pretty good understanding of what's going on. I think the why stuff's very important. I just think it makes you have a little bit more and a little extra belief in it too, because you just understand it at a deeper level.
Yeah, makes sense. I have one more question for you. So,
yeah,
if I'm just curious. So, like Matt said, like I'm an 8 handicap.
Mm-hmm.
If you followed me around for a round and you were my caddy / you told me exactly what to do all around, how many strokes do you think you'd save me?
83 scoring average, Austin. 83 scoring average.
I'd say 4 or 5.
What are you doing tomorrow?
You want me to fly up to Pittsburgh tomorrow morning?
Where do you think you'd find them?
I think you'd find them honestly like just a lot of decisions like into greens, and then getting out of trouble if you get into it. I think a lot of it would be right there.
Yeah, that tracks for me.
Yeah, and then maybe even some tee shots too, where it's like not even necessarily like where it's like, hey, you don't need to hit driver here. There might be that, but it might be also where it's like, hey, like you can actually hit that driver like past all that stuff where you'll have more room up there, and it's going to probably be a little bit easier on you too. So, yeah, I would say a lot of
especially if you could read my putts for me.
Yeah, I think there's another one. Like if you have a 20-footer, are you trying to make that 20-footer, or are you just trying to like have good speed?
I'm trying to have good speed, but yeah.
It's stuff like that.
I'm fortunate.
Now he is.
Now I am. I'm fortunate. I think I'm a little savvier, just spending so much time with Matt and being such a golf nerd to like kind of know some of the good things. Like, yeah, I would say most of my playing partners are not. So yeah, everything you're saying there is mistakes they all make, and I try to avoid them.
How often are you here? I think this would be an interesting question for Jordan to hear the answer to. How often over the course of a season are your guys standing in the middle of a par 4 or a par 5 tee with their driver aiming right down the middle of the fairway?
How often are they?
Yeah.
I mean, I would think a lot.
I'm saying standing dead in the center of a tee and aiming dead down the center of a fairway. Or are they on a side of a tee, shading a side, trying to hit it left cut, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the younger ones probably do that a lot more than the one that's something I actually try to talk about a lot. Where it's like, hey, setting up on the right side, it opens up your ball flight a lot more. Even though like your target is the same, the angle you're coming in from, all of a sudden that one, if you're righty, if you get up on the right side and you're aiming at that, your flare is now on the right edge of the fairway, or just in the right rough, as opposed to if you did it from the middle of the fairway, it's now on the right trees. Yeah, that's a big thing too.
Or like if there's bunkers right and just 20 yards of rough left, now their targets could be left edge of the fairway. Like they're literally trying to hit it into the left edge of the fairway. Is that more often the case than we're trying to hit it right down the gut?
And with the older guys, it's probably more the case than it is the younger ones out, the ones who like just get there, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's definitely something that's normally learned.
That's always something I find, like if I do a playing lesson with a member, or if I'm playing with like a member 6-8 handicap or whatever, and I'll go, hey, my target is in the left rough. I'm trying to hit this ball in the left rough because there's out of bounds on the right side of the fairway. I'm being 40, like I'm trying to hit this ball 40 yards away from out of bounds, and I don't care where that is. Like that supersedes everything.
Yeah.
I think Austin would have a fun time following you around for a week.
Following me around?
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Well, because he's dealing with college players all day, and you're definitely not.
Yeah. Oh, like watching me teach all day?
Oh yeah.
He would laugh. Yeah, he would laugh and laugh.
Yeah.
He would go, God bless you, sir. But I'll tell you what, man, I think it's a lot of the same stuff. It's just on a different scope. You know?
I agree. Yeah, no doubt.
Golf is hard.
It's definitely is.
Awesome.
Anything else you would like to add, Austin King?
No, I think y'all asked a lot of really good questions, and anything that I would have wanted to say, I think I pretty much said it. So no, this was awesome. Thanks again for having me.
Yeah, you got it, dude. Thanks for doing it.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks, Austin. Good talking to you.
Yeah, sure thing, fellas. Y'all take it easy.